Hello and welcome, I'm Chris and this is the Hair Tutorial channel, and on this channel I give you the hints and tips to help you with your hairdressing. Whether it's cutting, colouring, hair up or product knowledge, I'm here for you. So on this video I'm going to be looking at square layers. Simple, easy and quick for you to do. So let's do it. Okay, so what you can see we have here is we have our model and we're going to be doing a layer. Now if you want to keep the length of your hair, if you've got very long hair, this is going to be a square layer. What that means is that held up, when I cut this, I'm going to be cutting into my length. So what that means is this is not the right haircut for you. So if you want to keep the length of your hair but still have layers, long layers or inverted layers, don't mind losing the length. This haircut is going to work and it's going to do the job and it's going to be awesome. Okay, so as you can see, I've sectioned up my model. I've gone from the crown to just behind the ear. I've then gone from the fringe to connect to the ear. And then we have this middle panel. So just 3 sections here. Now this is very simple and we're going to start on this front section that I've taken out. And there's a couple of ways to cut this. Now remember, I'm going to be cutting my length. So the shorter you take these layers, the shorter the overall haircut is going to be. And there's also a number of ways you can cut this depending on the type of effect you want. If you use a pair of hairdressing scissors, you can cut it bluntly and that will give you quite a solid line, which you could then go in afterwards and break that and soften that. Or you could simply start by point cutting. The other option is to use a pair of thinning scissors. Now thinning scissors have serrated teeth, which give you a softer, more feathered effect. So even if I cut bluntly with these, I'm going to get a softer, more broken up line. Or you could use a combination of all of the techniques. Blunt cut it, chip into it with your hairdressing scissors and feather through it with some thinning scissors. The final thing you can do at the front is to actually arc your cut. And again, there's a couple of ways of doing this. The first way, which is how a hairdresser might do it, is to come in at an angle to create a V shape through the front. This would mean that these points here are going to be longer and you're going to get a softer, more feathered effect around the face. The other way to do it is to use the twist technique. So taking a comb, make sure the hair is combed down, and a comb in the hair, and then rotate and comb through. Now you have a twist in the hair, and whether you blunt cut this, point cut it, or use your thinning scissors, when you let go, what's going to happen is you have an arc to the front of the layer. So I'm going to do the more complicated one where I do the arc in the front. Now I don't want my layers too short because I want to do a waterfall balayage on this block, so I want to keep the length so that I can do that. So I'm going in, twisting and taking. Okay, and now I'm going to point cut. So when you're point cutting, the straighter you go in, the softer it will be and the less chance of taking sort of big chunks out of the hair. Now like I said, you could always blunt cut this and then go in and do this. It's again entirely up to you how you decide to do it. Okay, so as you can see, there's a very tiny arc. Doing it freehand and cutting up into a triangle, you would get much more exaggeration. But that's enough just to give us some softness. Now we're going to take our front section and our middle section, and we're going to over direct this section. Now again, the more sort of length you want to keep, the more you're going to over direct this section. So if you want to keep maximum length, you would simply bring this section up, bring this as far forward as you can, and then again find your guide and point cut into that. And once again, now we're going to take our back section, we're going to comb this all forward, and depending on how far forward you've brought the other sections, you're now going to take your middle section and again bring this forward. You could bring it all the way to where you have previously cut these, and as you can see, I'm actually going to be taking less off of this back, so I'm maintaining as much length as I can, but at the same time it's not going to be heavily layered. So the further forward you bring this, you're still layering it, but the softer the layers are going to be. The straighter up you layer, the more you're going to layer it, but the more length you're going to lose. So that's it. Then, like I said, you could go back through, you could use your texturizing scissors. When you're using texturizing scissors, I wouldn't recommend coming below half of the length of the hair. And if you've got curly hair, I really would just stick to feathering those ends as well. So now it's just a case of taking the bands out and styling it. So with the bands out, you can see we've kept a lot of our length, and just through that bottom area, you've got a nice broken up texturized layer going through it. Now when you move round to the front, okay, we've again got a nice sort of arc and softness to the haircut. Then obviously it would just be a case of styling this how you wanted to style it, whether you wanted to leave it straight, put some texture into it to really define those layers, or whether you wanted to curl it or wave it. Just a real quick curl with some straightening irons just to define those layers. It can be harder on blonde hair to see them. You can really see the texture and the movement through this haircut from 3 simple sections. Couple of choices to make on your length, point cutting, blunt cutting. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.